Hello everyone, I am Abhishek Chaudhuri. I have been serving Department of English Chakda College in the capacity of an assistant professor since 2017. Today I am going to talk about The English Teacher by R.K. Narayan. The title that I have chosen for my lecture is Roots Over Books: Krishna's Journey Beyond the Classroom. The English Teacher by R.K. Narayan presents a story whose center of consciousness is a young man teaching English in a missionary college at Malgudi in early 20th century colonial India. Krishna, from whose consciousness the story is presented, deals with three major issues: his dissatisfaction with his profession and Western values, his grapple with existence without his beloved wife, and most subtly, his transition from Western values to traditional Indian. Alongside these threefold issues, there is a graphic detailing of Krishna's inner life and adequate description of Krishna's cultural background in India's Brahmin class, with focuses on the daily activities of Krishna, his wife Shushila, and their little daughter Leela. The impact of Hindu values is an obvious influence on these characters, most significantly on Krishna himself. Krishna was transformed from a Western scholar into a conservative Hindu religious thinker contemplating on soul and communing with his deceased wife Sushila. He ends up with tutoring children in Hindu theosophical tradition. Judging by this metamorphosis of the central character of the novel, the theme of this book may be termed as a transition from Western values to Indian. This transition takes place as Krishna bears the bittersweet fruits of life and goes through the ordeals of life. The very first sentence in the novel suggests the Hindu conception that life is an illusion. Teaching his literary assignments in Albert Mission College, Madras, Krishna feels pleased. On the whole, he is very pleased with his life. But after reviewing his teaching responsibilities, that something is missing from his life, that something is only half realized in Western lifestyle in Albert Mission College, that something will be achieved towards the close of the novel when Krishna commits himself to Indian spirituality. As his namesake from the Bhagavad Gita suggests, he nurtures a faint flicker of spiritual life in the disciplines of the missionary college. He admits that, despite his comfortable pay, he was doing the wrong work. He describes his teaching duties as admonishing, cajoling, and browbeating his young Indian students over Shakespeare and Milton texts. In a later passage, he admits that he did not take interest in Pride and Prejudice and merely paraphrases the story to the students. Thus, early in the novel, it becomes clear that although professionally Krishna belongs to Western culture, he has no enthusiasm for it. This wariness in the Western culture resulted in the transformation into a traditional Indian one. Krishna's transformation takes place as a result of a series of unpredictable events. Through these events, the theme of the novel appears to be worked out. The theme may be said to be Krishna's progress from Western rational and academic ambience to the real world of life and death, from adulthood to childhood, from Western mindset to Oriental mentality. The novel excellently works out in its autobiographical mode of narration. The movement of the central character from the cloistered and protective environment of Western academy to the luminous glow of Oriental spiritualism. This journey of the hero started from his sense of living like a cow and a continuous sense of something missing. In an environment where a pupil spelling honors without you is seen as a catastrophe, the news of his wife and child coming to live with him brings spontaneity and an emotional charge. It is at this point he decides to move out of his hostel and build a home. At this point, he steps down from the illusory world of English literature to the down to earth world of ordinary people. His wife Sushila bears an ironic name, freeing Krishna from the order of academic campus. Krishna, however, does not adapt the new influence on his life without a struggle. The alarm clock symbolizes this struggle of transition. This clock sets off alarm at arbitrary times of day and night, symbolizing this old attitude to Western discipline. He held on to the clock for years. When Shushila gets rid of it behind his back, it comes as a shock to him. It causes a row which drags on his several days. Gradually, Krishna accepts her act with equanimity or composure. This jarring episode marks Krishna's transition from a world dominated by Western rational to a world dominated by spontaneity and intuition. Freedom from the clock is the symbolic of Krishna's new attitude to life, which is intuitive and emotional. Sushila's fatal illness marks another turning point into Krishna's inner life. It brings spiritual truth into his life, which was so long protected by the enclosed academics of Western culture. Krishna comes to realize that life is not predictable and orderly. The futility of beliefs in a knowable and ordered life is shown in two central and symmetrical predictions. The first is the doctor's assertion that typhoid, which actually his wife Shushila contracted, is the one fever which goes strictly by its own rules. The second is the prediction of the doctor that Shushila will be well in a few weeks. Absolutely normal course. No complications. Shushila dies. This is still another episode demonstrating the futility of the Western notion that life is knowable and rational. It is seen in the headmaster's belief in a prediction made by an astrologer. Who can see past, present, and future as one and give everything its true value? The astrologer predicts that he will die on a given date. This prediction proves false. Any prediction of life based on calculation is thwarted by death. Again, any prediction of death is thwarted by life. These episodes provide Krishna with nothing rational to believe in. He is now wary with the cerebral activities of a Western scholar. His wariness is apparent from the fact that he has been reading for the 50th time Milton, Carlyle, and Shakespeare. He tries a love poem, but it becomes a copy of Wordsworth. He tries reading a book on Plato, but he gives up on the very first sentence. In an outburst with one of his students, Krishna says, "Don't worry so much about these things. They are trash. But all the time, the problem of living and dying is crashing us." In coming to terms with the death of his wife, Western literature is of no use to life. It is all illusion. The journey he is on involves leaving behind these illusions of Western literature. Krishna now grapples with the barest truths of life and death. The truth he wants to know is not there in Shakespeare, Carlyle, and Plato. It is found only among real people and in real lives. It is the law of life. This law comes into operation the moment we are detached from the mother's womb. Krishna comes to live with the boys at Leela's school. The headmaster of his school has devoted his life to children, the angels, and the real gods on earth. The leave alone system in the school is an attempt to shun the society of adults. Krishna decides to work with the headmaster in this nursery school. For the first time, he knows the joy of freedom from the deadening Western academy, and he knows that children are spontaneous and natural. The final stage of Krishna's spiritual journey is achieved when Krishna develops a psychic communion with the spirit of his wife. He feels a real cheerfulness growing within me, memory heartless. It is a life of spiritual rejuvenation contrasted with the boredom and spiritual deadness of Western culture, given to only classifying, labeling, departmentalizing. That's all. Thank you.